Hi plant friends, it's Krista from Botanical Bird, and if you're joining me for the first time today, possibly from my plant giveaway that I've been advertising, welcome. This is my YouTube channel where I like to explore plant things and share my knowledge and hopefully learn from you guys too. So today I wanted to talk about my top 10 favorite houseplants that I currently care for, and it was really difficult to decide. So I feel like this list kind of constantly changes, and this is not saying that I don't love the other 120 plants that I care for. So I'm going to list them off and kind of talk a little bit about them, and I am not listing them in any particular order because that would be even more of a challenge. So I'll just grab the first one that I see. This is my Scindapsus pictus exotica, and I just love this plant. I got it from a local terrarium making shop. They also just sell plants. And I already had a significantly smaller one of these, but I couldn't pass it up. One that was so full and bushy and where the leaves are so big and the stems are so thick. And so I keep this guy and I water, actually he might be ready for a water soon. I water him when the leaves start to curl, so you can see that they're kind of curling in, and that means that it's ready for some water. So this is a pretty vocal plant too. I don't struggle too much in knowing when it needs water. So love this guy. Another one of my favorite plants that I have, another trailing plant that I love is, please excuse the string, I have it in a hanging situation. This is a Hoya Crimson Princess, and I found this at Walmart. It was such a special find, and I had ordered a smaller one already from Gabriella Plants, and then I saw this at Walmart, and so I couldn't resist. I just love how much it's trailing. Her variegation has gone crazy because I have her hanging right in front of a southwest facing window, so she gets tons of light, even direct light, and she's really liking it. And she had this one random, this is all one trailing stem or a vine. It's like significantly longer than the rest, and so I decided to kind of curl her up one string and then down the other to kind of hide the string because it's kind of ugly. I didn't put her in like a fancy macrame hanger or anything. So I love this lady. She is a showstopper, and I find that she's actually pretty thirsty for a Hoya. Hoya generally like to dry out all the way before you water them again, but I find that I'm watering her maybe like once a week or once every other week, which I feel like is pretty frequent for a Hoya. We are in summer though in Texas, so who knows? All right, another plant. Oh my gosh, this was one of my favorite plants ever for the longest time. This is my string of pearls, or I think it's Cereus raulianus, I think. And she is in a face planter. I had big dreams for this plant for a long time, so I'll give you a close-up. This plant, I originally got just a couple, and I tried to put it in this glass terrarium, but the opening was really small, and so I messed up a lot of the roots, and so I bought a couple more, and then I put them in, I think it was in this planter outside, but I get too much direct light on my southwest facing balcony, and so I completely fried it. And so I brought it back inside, I tried to rehab it, and then I just bought more. And so I planted it in this vase planter, which I had been envisioning for a while. I saw it on Instagram that people were doing that, and I thought it was really cool to find a plant that looked like hair. And the reason that I love the string of pearls is it just looks more like jewelry than it does plant, you know? Like, it is just amazing to me that something like this can be alive and can be a plant. Like, the leaves are little spheres. So I love my string of pearls. And I've definitely seen other people's strings of pearls that are like a lot more impressive, or the pearls are bigger or more round or whatever. Because like you can see on some of mine, some of them are not very round, and maybe they're string of tears, I don't know. But other pearls on here are happier, and so I just let it go. My plant's gonna be what it's gonna be, you know? Another one of my favorite plants is this CRASSULA muscosa, and I like this because of the texture. Succulents were my gateway plants to plant parenthood, and it's just, I think it's because I'm from Michigan, and so there's not a lot of succulents there, not naturally growing. So when I moved to Texas, I was just baffled at the prevalence of succulents here. So I got, this is actually another Walmart find, and just the texture, it's so funky, like the leaves, I don't even know how to describe them. Almost like hair, but I like how compact it is, and from a single stem, it'll branch off into, let me see if I can find one. It'll branch off into several different stems, which I just think is the coolest thing ever. So this little dude, he's so funky. All right, another one of my favorite plants is this Peperomia marble. I got this at a street fair from the same terrarium store as the Scindapsus pictus exotica, and I was just so impressed with the variegation. As always, what do I love? Variegation and calathea and trailing and biting plants. So when I got this, maybe the variegation was a little bit more prevalent, maybe it was a little bit brighter, because you know, like my house doesn't have the most ideal conditions, but I was just so impressed with like the thick succulent-like leaves and the variegation. It was just so beautiful, so I couldn't pass it up. Didn't even know this plant existed at the time. It lost some leaves recently, so I'm wondering if I was over or under watering. I just switched out the soil yesterday because it was getting, the soil would be so dry, but then when I was watering it, leaves were dropping, and so I figured maybe just it needed some fresh soil. So I don't know, sometimes it's a process of elimination. Oh, and I actually decorated this pot myself. I think it was an idea from Amanda from Plantarina, and she does a lot of DIY, which I really like because I'm not trying to break the bank. And so this is just leftover rope. I think it's macrame cord, to be honest. And then I just hot glued it around the pot. But the bummer thing is it's getting kind of moldy at the bottom because when I water it, I often have it in its plastic saucer. And so it kind of like makes the rope absorb the water and sit there for a while. So eventually I'll have to move it when it gets super gross, but I think for now it's probably okay. All right, another one of my favorite plants. I couldn't decide which calathea. I know, oh, okay, I don't like this side. Look at the clearance sticker. I bought this pot from at home, and it was on clearance, as you can see, but I don't really like pots to have designs, so I just never have that facing out. I couldn't decide which calathea to show because I stinking love calathea. They're one of my favorite plant genuses, and I think I've actually been getting a little bit frustrated with a lot of my calathea lately because they have been getting pests, and they're generally known as very picky. But I also find that the plants have some of the prettiest foliage, and they basically dance because they move throughout the day with the light. And so I think this one has been catching my eye lately just because of the bright green leaf color with the dark green pattern. Like that contrast is just beautiful. And I love it in this cute little chubby planter, and it was on clearance, so that was great. And I generally gravitate towards like really big, full, lush plants, but I like that this is like little and chubby, and it lives here in one of these squares, but it's just out of frame. And so I like that it's like just this little cute thing. So this is I'd never introduced it. This is a Calathea macroiana, and I have several other Calathea that I considered showing, like my Calathea medallion or Calathea rosy, but I settled on this one. And one of my favorite things about Calathea is, like I said, they have some of the most beautiful foliage. They often have some sort of green on top and then like red or purple under leaves. And so this one it's like red. And so I find that beautiful. All right, just hear me out on this one, guys. I know how it looks. This is my Syngonium podophyllum albo variegata, and I understand it looks ugly in this plastic bag. What happened was that I got this shipped to me, and I don't know. It looked like it was starting to get pests. Maybe I gave it root rot. I don't know. But basically, it started out with like 7 or something beautiful leaves, all like about this size with like amazing variegation. And they all started to wither and die. And I was unwilling to let it go. And so I followed Harley G's instructions on her plant propagation box that she uses. So basically I put it in, instead of having it in a box, I kept it in the pot, but I filled it with sphagnum moss. Let's see if I can show you. I filled it with sphagnum moss, and I put it in a humidity bag, a Ziploc bag, and sprayed it with a bunch of water. Oh, and before I put the stems in the sphagnum moss, I moistened it. And so basically that kind of just puts the plant stems in a really humid environment, and it encourages root growth. So since I've been doing this, I started this on June 14th and today is the 29th, and it is growing some awesome roots. And actually this is a new leaf, or maybe it was unfurling before, but this is a new leaf. And we have another new leaf down here. It's hard to show. But yeah, so it's making a comeback, and even though I know it looks rough right now, I have confidence that this is going to pull through. And when it does, I'm gonna be so happy because I'm rehabbing it. Another one of my favorite plants is my Euphorbia variegata. And this is just such a funky find. Where did I find this? I got this from Home Depot, I think. And I don't think, like, I definitely didn't know this existed, but I was just making a plant run. Maybe I was getting plastic saucers or something, and this caught my eye, and I walked around a bit thinking, like, should I take it home, should I not? And I just decided I couldn't pass it up. I love the variegation, of course. I'd never really seen, I guess I'd seen some cactus that were white, but I just really like that there's like a gradient in color from almost white, light green to darker green, and then that they have these crazy leaves. Like, I guess when I think of succulents and cacti, I don't think of leaves. And so I just love this dude. I allow it to completely dry out before I water it, and I have it in this wicker basket as like a cover pot for its nursery pot. It sits right in front of my southwest facing window, getting direct light, and it doesn't seem to mind it. I know most plants like bright indirect light, but I have yet to have lots of trouble with plants that are sitting right in front of a window. I think I have had to move some plants, but like most of them I feel are pretty fine with it. So there's that. Next, I have these last ones are really big. This is my Aglaonema Maria. Ah! Lots of people often call them Chinese evergreens, and she is just a showstopper. Look at this. She knows what she wants. She is full and she is running the show. So I used to have her in my bathroom, which has no windows, because Aglaonema can generally tolerate lower light situations, but she was starting to tell me that she wasn't really digging it. And so I eventually moved her to a better situation for her, which is a nightstand in my bedroom, so she gets indirect bright light, and she has just been loving it. I water her basically when her soil's almost dry or pretty dry, and that's about it. She doesn't really need a whole lot, and I just love the striking variegation on her leaves, and she has just continued to be a full, lush lady for me. So, my Aglaonema Maria. Thank you, ma'am. And last but certainly not least, my Dieffenbachia exotica. And I understand that there are some brown spots on her leaves. I understand that I have cut chunks out of some of her leaves, and that is because I would rather see a chunk cut out of a leaf rather than a lot of like brown spots. And this little lady and I are currently going on a pest journey together where I'm trying to get rid of, I think, spider mites. She might be a little roughed up, but you know what? Life happens and we're gonna get through it together. This was another Walmart find. Sometimes Walmart can be great, y'all. And I got her the same day that I got my Hoya Crimson Princess that I showed you. And I saw both of them and I wasn't looking for either. And I was just like, should I bring you home with me? Should I not? And I just decided that I needed to have both of them. And so I brought this plant home, and it has become very easily one of my favorite plants. Every day I feel like I walk by it and I appreciate its crazy variegation. Like, there are some plants that are variegated, but like lightly. Like, I have some golden pothos or some marble queen pothos that are kind of lightly variegated, but like this is like variegated, you know? And so even though sometimes like I feel like she's, you know, a little bit banged up from this pest journey we're going on, I think we're gonna make it through and it's gonna be okay. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions about the plants that I showed you today, or if you'd like to share what your favorite plants are that you care for, please comment below. And don't forget, if you like this video, to subscribe to this YouTube channel, Botanical Bird. Bird has a U in it, not an I. And follow my Instagram account, which is at botanical_bird. And don't forget, I'm rooting for you. Bye.